Hi, my name is Megan, and I'm a drug addict. I'm going to tell you a little bit about what it was like for me, and tell you how I came to this program and what it has done in my life. So, I had a really normal childhood. My parents were great. They're not addicts, alcoholics at least, or drug addicts. My dad was a gambler. He was always gone. He wanted to gamble more, traveling for work. So, something's in my bloodline. But, I grew up, I was in counseling at the age of 5. This book that we use talks about being restless, irritable, and discontent, and I was exactly that. I was really angry, and I didn't know why at a very young age. Growing up, I was a social butterfly, but I didn't feel like I ever fit in anywhere. Not any particular group. I played sports. I was very much, the scholar. I sang. I had, all different friend groups, but something was missing inside of me. And so the first thing I ever tried was alcohol, and I was 14 years old, a senior. It was I was my freshman year, and a senior bought my friend Alyssa and I a 6-pack of Mike's Hard Lemonade and a pack of Newport. So we went in the main groves by my mom's house, and that was my I had arrived feeling. Every feeling inside of me that made me feel so tense, it was gone. Just lifted immediately. I still played sports. I didn't really go to parties or do that type of stuff. I was too involved with everything all the time. My friends really didn't do it either. So, you have the dances for school and stuff like that, and I would drink. My high school boyfriend smoked, and I wanted nothing to do with him when he was like that, and then the thought crossed my mind, okay, I'm going to try this one day, and then I, got scared. My dad started getting really sick about the end of my sophomore year and in my junior year, and that's when I started acting out a lot. I really started drinking, and I was a blackout drinker from the start. So that first time, I know that the feelings were lifted, but I don't remember much. Then, I go to these dances, and the next morning, we'd all get a house to rent or something, and the next morning my friends are having to drive my car home while I'm passed out in the back seat because I'm still, done from the night before. Then I try, smoking with my high school boyfriend and going to those parties because my dad and I were super close, and I didn't want to feel the pain of I have 2 other sisters, and I'm 16, 17 years old going to the hospital. My parents are divorced. My older sister is in Texas, and it was a lot on me. So I try I try a couple of other pills, and they make me black out and want to fight, and I'm mixing that with alcohol. And then a month before my high school graduation, my dad passes away. And I was just about to be 18, we were so close, and he was gone within 3 days of going into the hospital. And my older sister got here from Texas, and, she's legal age. So her, my younger sister, and I just start drinking. And I drank every day from that point on. I didn't want to feel anything. It was a really hard time in my life. And I didn't know how I was going to get through it. Losing a parent is not easy, and like I was daddy's little girl, like it's messed up. Like my dad told me I was his favorite, but we were always together. And if he was here and in town, so I'm dually enrolled in college, and I'm drinking all the time. So I'm going to class. I think my professors are like, well, it reeks of responsibility in here, because like that's just how much I was drinking. And then one of my classmates said to me, like, why don't you go work at a club? Like, you can make a crap ton of money and barely have to work. And I was like, okay, cool. Well, what's in clubs? Even stronger substances. So the girls at first were like, no, you don't come in here and I'll be in the bathroom. I'm like, yeah, what are you doing? Then came the day, I think it was like 5 months after my dad passed, that I moved on to, I don't know if I should say it because I don't really, like saying the substances, but, I say it? Okay. So I know it's DAA, but still, let's be in the solution. So I started doing cocaine. And, let's be real, what do girl parties in the bathroom? What do they consist of in a club, And then it allowed me to drink even more, And I would do a little bit more of that to straighten out so I could drive, right? Then came the day where I get pulled over, and I'm in I would always take the back streets because I knew Pinellas County in the back of my hand. I grew up there. And officer that pulls me over knows who I am, and I'm like, what's going on? And she's like, you played varsity basketball for Clearwater High. If your mom answers the phone, we're going to let you go. We were looking for somebody with the same vehicle as yours. And let me tell you, my mom got in that car and drove me home, and she was pissed. I couldn't even sit up straight. How was I even driving? And I'm laid back in the passenger seat, God saved me there, but in that moment, I didn't realize it. So I continue working at the club. I'm hanging out with kids I went to private school with. They have loads of money. We're doing way more things, and I get introduced to this guy that's fresh out of prison. So we started dating, and along with that came selling. That was the opiate boom, selling pills, switch from cocaine to pills, snorting pills, robbing people. I saw things that I never thought I would go through, or I did things that I didn't think I would do, right? And that relationship became very abusive. He went to jail. I remember the police banging down our door. We had a little condo in Coder Beach, and he went to jail, and I had all this stuff, and I was so excited. I just locked myself in my place, and just did it all. I did. Why not? And so I didn't want to feel also, I was still dealing with my dad. I didn't want to feel what was going on with him. I'm smiling with 2 black eyes. What the heck is wrong with me, And I didn't care because I didn't care about myself, drugs were my world now, screw the alcohol. And that would just try to come down at the end of the night if I could. So, he goes to jail. I go to my first detox. It's called Morton Plant in Clearwater. Used to have this Adler 5. This is what they called floor 5. And I went there. They gave me some detox meds. I get out. I remember my mom, I was taking a nap on the couch. She looks like she's 15 again. And I'm back out a week later. Because I'm not going to meetings. I end up, Taylor gets out, excuse not his name, but he gets arrested again. They released me from the police station in Tarpon. And again, I just have all this stuff, and now I have to go to meetings. So my stepdad went with me to my first meeting. He had been a member of AA for a while. And I tried NA, at first, but like they were talking about these things like I had no idea what they were, and it kind of scared me, So I went, and I just had to get my paper signed, That's all it was for me. Let's get by. I was on misdemeanor PTI, and I think I could skate by, and they drug test me my 11th month, And I didn't do anything until that month. But I'm not really working on myself. I'm not listening in the meetings that I'm going to. And, I decide to smoke, with my little sister. And they test me. And I sit in jail on my 20th birthday overnight. And then they let me out, and you got to withhold. And, again, I was really lucky, especially because of all the other things. So... I go back to Adler 5 again because things got even worse. I tried shooting, and somebody did it to me, and I fell in love with that. I go back, and that's April of 2011. And they send me to my first rehab straight from there. And I go to Maitland, Florida. And it was this posh little it was like the Ritz of rehabs with the chef and everything. I'm still on my mom's insurance. So whatever, And I didn't listen. I had my mom sneak me in a cell phone. My 8-hour pass and hang out with people that already got out. I'm not doing anything that I'm saying. I'm lying about what I'm doing still. I can't be fully honest about anything. I just want to do what I want to do. Get my parents off my back. So that's what I did. I get out and I come back here. And so I just thought that drugs were my issue. So I drink, but I'm not doing drugs. But me, I start with 3 shots or 2 shots and a drink. And I'm like, woo, let's go, more, and then who knows what's going to happen, because then I black out, and I don't care who you are, I'm going to fight you. I thought if I just didn't drink dark liquor, I would be okay, and I wouldn't want to fight anybody, but then I drink so much, I don't know what's going to happen tonight, because I'm going to get some dope after that, because and then you're not going to hear from me, my location's off, I'm done. And that was every single time. My best friend knew. She's like, you have to turn your location on because I know what's going to happen. I had friends that didn't want me. I would be okay. And then I see the lights and the music and I hear it. And I'm my mind starts going, well, everybody else can do it. So why can't I, And it's because I have this allergy to any substance, and once I have one, my body doesn't know the difference, and I take off. And so I drink. I'm not doing drugs, and I go back to college because I had dropped out three times already. And I'm working in the bar again, because I'm back in college. And then I had met my son's dad, and I find out I'm pregnant with my son. So I think I worked in the bar till I was 3 or 4 months pregnant. And he never knew that I had any. He didn't know that I was an addict. He's a normie. And I have my son, whatever, everything's fine. I think there were 1 or 2 instances when my son's dad was like, no, because I got a normal job. I got drunk one day with my coworker because she's drinking vodka out of a water bottle. And I'm like, yeah, let's do this, if I use anything, drink anything, my voice changes, my mannerisms change, and you can tell, it's so easy. So I have my son, and when my son's 9 months old, we get in a car accident, somebody hits us head on. Well, they prescribed me 9 different medications, and I have to get back surgery and all this crazy stuff they're telling me. What do? I want them to go from Vicodin, and I'm telling them Percocet because I know they're stronger. And then 3 months when they're like, we don't want you to be physically addicted. That allergy's already set off. and I'm on off and popping, and I'm looking for stuff on the streets, and it wasn't too long before I was shooting up D's again, and then I tried smoking crack. Well, that was fun. I was I was out of my mind for a year and 7 months. It was the worst thing I had ever gone through. I'm driving from Palm Harbor to the south side of St. Pete 3 times a day. Like, I'm spending copious amounts of money. I'm not taking care of my responsibilities, not being a mother. Like, I'm present, but you think I can, thank God my son's dad always told me I was a great mother no matter what. But, like, deep down, I felt like crap, excuse me. Like, I didn't feel like I was a good parent. Like, I always loved children. Like, my first job was being a babysitter. And I banked at, like, 12 years old. You know what I mean? Like, I love kids. But, like, what the heck? And I felt terrible. And the more terrible I felt inside, the more I'd pick up that pipe or I'd pick up that needle, And, I was having seizures. I'm shooting cocaine, shooting D's, and I'm having seizures because I'm doing such big amounts each time. And my mom's telling me I'm just tweaking out and whatever. I call her freaked out, and like nobody wanted anything to do with me. I hit somebody, or I wrecked my car. I'm driving my son's dad's car and work truck, and all my family had put me on block. And something happened at a bar, and I really got scared, and I really wanted to get help. So I go to my mom's house, and who's there? My stepsister from Iowa with her fiance and 3 kids, my little sister, my son's dad, and my son, because I went to our house, and nobody was there. And I'm like, what's going on? Like, I just show up 3 days later, and I had my son's dad's car because I had got, wrecked mine. So I get there, and my stepdad tells me, you can't come in. And I go to the back, and I'm like, I really want to go get help. Like, can I talk to Mom? Next thing I know, 4 sheriffs are pulling up. I'm like, what is going on? My parents were going to trespass me. I had pill, a loaded, rig, and I'm getting arrested all of a sudden, and I have no idea why, because I told my mom, I told the police to give my mom my purse, right, because I knew that's where everything was, and it was fine, until all of a sudden, my son's dad's the victim, and I'm getting arrested for grand theft motor vehicle, and next thing I know, my whole purse is on top of the sheriff's SUV on the hood, and they're finding other things. I go to jail. I had been in jail. I had another DUI previously, and got out, and so I didn't talk about that, but I go sit in jail, and I have a bond, and my parents aren't bonding me out, and I'm like, what's going on? They're like, you should really opt into drug court. And I'm like, no, I can do felony PTI, and I'm going to be good. I never am going to come back here. Well, that didn't happen, I had a little public defender, and I knew what it was like being there for somebody on the outside. I had that boyfriend that was in and out of prison and whatever for a couple years, in jail constantly, knew how to talk to a bail bondsman, but I didn't know what it was. It was like summer camp for people that went there all the time. Like, I was lost. I thought that I was better than them. I was raised differently, or I had been around certain things. Like, I put myself in situations and around people, places, and things that I never thought that I would, But, like, when it came down to that, I was like, man, I'm stuck here, right? So they got me into West Care in drug court. And I make up this whole grand plan of why I used and got my dope on the south side of St. Pete, and I'm not going to MLK, and 18th Avenue South to go to rehab. It ain't gonna work. And the judge is like, well, if you can't get clean where you got high, you can't get clean anywhere. And I was like, okay. So I go. I don't want to be there. I'm forced. Like, I'm doing what my family tells me to do again. I just want them off my back. And so I was only supposed to do 6 to 7 months there. I did 11. And then I had an intervention at the end, and I'm entitled, and I'm this, and I didn't work on anything, and I this, and I that. Well, okay, I didn't care. So I had 22 months sober, clean and sober, and I went back out. Same old, same old. Let me go to the south side. At this point, like, my car was done. I had been on my third car already. So I'm relapsing about every 6 months. And I'm going, well, I'm just going to smoke crack because opiates are my problem. And I'm not going to stick a needle in my arm because that's when I really screw up, right? Man. So I'm, I go to Turning Point. I'm in Turning Point in St. Pete. They call it a crisis center. And they, speakers came in to do H&I, and they were like, if you're here, your life's in a crisis. And I was like, yes, it is. Like, I'm sleeping on the floor and, like, on a freaking mat. Like, I'm being, I tell you and eat. Like, I needed that structure, right? I went there 3 times. About every 6. I would get 6 to 9 months of sobriety time, and I'd throw it out the window because I would get in, I would go to my meetings, I would do step work, right? I'd get to my 4th step, start sharing my 5th. Sponsor got sick, so instead of sharing it with somebody else, I'm just going to go and get high over these feelings. Like, feelings, I hate feelings, and they were my number one reason to go pick up drugs. I'm always going to a bar first, and then bam, like, I have no defense against anything once I have one. And so I had a sponsor move me in her house. She'd been waiting for me to ask her to sponsor for me for years. It was a part of NA. And she did. She saved every single paycheck of mine for me. She told me she would feed me. Her requirements were that I had to go to a meeting every day. If it wasn't with her, I had to take a picture of her accountability, and I had to have a job. Cool. Because that point, people were done with me. Like, there was no helping. I went to women's residence and decided I was going to leave there, and what do? I get high again. So this woman was amazing. We were just alike. I think we cussed just as much as each other, and like, we're the same. And I was able to help her because she had like physical ailments, and so it was cool. I'd walk the dog early in the morning. I'd get up, like, I'd walk all the way down Central Avenue in St. Pete to work. Like, I loved my life, and I'm in this super toxic relationship again with an abusive person. And even though, like, they're doing kind things, or like, he took me from rehab to rehab, or sober living to sober living, right? And again, he's doing it the same thing. If one person picks up, usually the other one, we both don't have a solution. So I get into an apartment by myself, nobody else paying for me this time, just me, and He moves in, and he was supposed to have money, and he didn't, and I was really resentful at him. My sponsor's like, do you want to be right, or do you want to be happy? And I was like, I want to be right, like, I always have to be right. Like, that's just the way I thought. And so not too long, I get in there in July. By, I think it was Halloween, I got high again. That was a big thing that night. I kicked him out over what he did to me, took his key. It brought back memories of when I was 19 in that relationship. Same thing. That's what my mom was saying. It scares me because it's just like that. And I sitting in my bathroom smoking crack again all by myself, and that's what I did. I think I was sober like 2.5 weeks in November, right around Thanksgiving, and I think like the second week of November that year. And by December 9th, I was moving out of my apartment. And I had a brand new car my parents bought for me. Like, they really thought I was done. My mom was telling my stepdad, no, we're going to wait, right? But a beautiful car. Like, I cried when I got back because I knew I didn't deserve this, right? Maybe I did, but I didn't feel like it. Moving out, my car's packed full of my stuff, you know, whatever was left that couldn't go in the moving truck. And I totaled my car because I had been up for 3 nights. I don't care about stuff. I'm looking for my pipe before the cops get there. You know what I mean? Like, my watch is alerting everybody already calling 911, all my emergency contacts. So, like, man, you know, like, what the heck? So I go to PAR, detox, and I do their 1206 or something like that green team program. It was at the Women's Village. And while I'm in there, I get that check for my car. And then I get the, you know, mechanical warranty check too. My mom's like, you need to send it to me. I was like, yeah, I sent her $4,000. I blew about 30 grand on dope in 2 months. And on from there, I figured out a way to do drugs, you know, to keep going and going. And, you know, that continued on until... I came to AA October of last year. It was like around the hurricanes. And I had a sponsor that I met when she went through drug court too when I did, but she was, you know, we were both in NA, and she would bring H&I into West Care, and I called her one day and I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like, she's like, okay, meet me at a meeting. But she knew I was messing up. But the best thing she ever did for me was be like, read your book at night. Because at night was my worst time. I didn't like being in my own head. I didn't like the way I felt. Read your book. If I called her and I was loaded, she'd be like, get your butt to a meeting. I would go sometimes. Sometimes I wouldn't. But I would go. Like, it alleviated the pain that I felt inside. And nobody judged me. They told me to keep coming back. You know, I kept myself out for a long time being inside my head. You know, like I'm a terrible person, or I'm not deserving of anything, or having all these fears that, you know, it's my disease talking to me. You know what I mean? Like, people could tell me how great I was and I would believe it, you know, and I just want my daughter back. I just want, you know, Megan back. I want my sister back. You know, my son's upset. And I call one of my friends. I keep going and call one of my friends. And I go over to Tampa for a whole day, and they give me some contacts up here in Newport Richey, because I was like, well, the only thing I haven't ever tried is get out of Pinellas County. You know, I could not have a cell phone, not have money, and I could still get what I wanted wherever. So I come up here, and I still have stuff in my system. I'm like 2 days sober, and I go to the outfield. It had just opened, and I was in so much pain, like, right, when I'm calling around to places like around here, I called the Hope Shot or whatever, and I filled out the form. I asked God, I said, whatever your will is for me, like, please let it be, you know, and I was crying, laying in my bed, like, so done with what I was doing, feeling. My dad left my mom. They gave me a place to lay my head at night, but I was affecting my stepfather's sobriety. Man's got 31 years sober. Leaving a woman he's been with for over 20 years and renting his own house. And I had that on my shoulders, you know, like I felt like it was me, you know, and everybody was really done. I had no more money, no car, quit my job because I couldn't get out of that damn bathroom in my apartment, you know. I ended up coming up here, and I applied myself from day one. Like, I knew, like, I really had to do something different. My mom told me, like, I'm not going to be here forever. I can't save you all the time. And I was like, dang, like, she's right, like, yeah. I would think about, like, the stuff that I did, and how much I disrespected her house, and I, like, came to this realization, like, I couldn't even, like, cry, and then I cry one day, and I'm like, oh my God, these feelings. My stepsister is not one of them. She's like, you need to just cry. I'm not an addict, and I cry all the time, and I'm like, having to release that, like, the pain and feelings. I just wanted to bottle it up. I'd rather be, like, cold, so I, like, get on Pinellas County AA because Pasco, the website, wouldn't let me in, and I'm like, any ladies up here to sponsor? Because my sponsor told me I needed to find somebody up here, and that's how I met my sponsor I still have today. And I jumped right into the steps. I knew that I had to. I had overdosed 3 times. It took 4 Narcan and going to the hospital to bring me back, So I knew resentments were, like, the book talks about, resentments were number one offender, and like, it takes more people out than anything. Mine definitely did for years, and I never saw it was me, though, and so I know it's about my story, but, like, the book that we use is great, and there's a couple things. There's a part that talks about all I had to do is be willing to believe in something greater than myself. And I'm like, I was so angry at God for such a long time, even though, like, I grew up having a relationship or grew up in church. And then all of a sudden I'm, like, immediately on step 3, and I'm like, oh, what's going on, and I'm like, there's lines, all men of faith have courage. And man, I was so full of faith. Like, I was on this little pink cloud, and people were so sick of me. You know what I mean? I'm, like, too happy, but, like, I started doing steps, and I started feeling this freedom. And, like, I really applied myself for once. I get to my 4th step, and he was, like, 43 pages, and that's, each page was a different person, place, or institution. I'm like, what is wrong with me? But it was the most, I would pray every time before I wrote, and it was the most thorough 4th step that I had ever written, and then sharing it with somebody else, having them tell me pieces about themselves and what they went through, made me feel comfortable. And I was able to open up and share with them, like, things I never thought that I would share, and the relief I got after that, and sitting for an hour by myself, like, I didn't know how to meditate that long. Let me just say, a whole hour. I was like, can I listen to music or something, or, like, meditative, like, sounds, like, like, I really believed everything this book said. Let me put it up, I'm gonna take it off the shelf, like, let me make sure I was, like, good, and, yeah. And whatever, if anything cropped up, like, I immediately told my sponsor, and there were, like, 2 things, like, I had to do everything that I possibly could. My first 30 days of being sober, like, I had something pretty serious happen. I would have easily gone and got some dope over that. But I texted I think I went to text my sponsor 911, and I called 911 instead on accident. I swear. But, she immediately, when I hung up and texted her, she immediately called me. If it weren't for women that went through the things that I went through, and I didn't pick up the phone and call them, maybe I would have went back out. Like, that's before I even did a 4th step, And I'm grateful for that. I chose to speak up and pick up my phone instead of being in myself and isolating, because, like, isolation, love it. Leave me alone. Friends would try to help me over the years, and I wanted nothing to do, because, hey, I'm going to get you high before you help me. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to ignore everybody. Like, that's what I did, I just wasn't ready. I'm grateful for those people, you know what I mean? We're still friends today, but, it talks about launching on the course of vigorous action, the personal house cleaning. I did my 4th step, 5th step, and, I was spiritually sick, mentally sick, physically ill, you know, like, whenever I was using, I had this block from a power greater than myself, you know. I couldn't feel that joy, everything that my higher power has to offer, you know, and I couldn't feel any of that. So, you know, one of my favorite lines in the book, I like always wanted to sponsor somebody, but I could never get there. I always wanted to do like, what is it called? Treatment committee, like go into treatment centers and speak, but I could never get there. Or like be a part of like, doing all this different type of service. And really, I was like judging, like they looked so happy, and I could fake being happy really well inside. I'm miserable, you know. And then I got through it, and like then came to my sponsors like, raise your hand, you can sponsor somebody. And I'm like, no way. Like, is this even real? I think my mom was like, are you sure you're ready to sponsor people? And I'm like, you're not one of us. You don't understand. So, you know. This line, cling to the thought that in God's hand the dark past is the greatest possession you have, the key to life and happiness for others, and with it you can avert death and misery for them. I can't tell you how many times working with another drug addict has saved my life this year. You know, I'm coming up to 10 months sober, and I never think I would get here. My stepdad was talking to me a couple weekends ago, and he goes, 9 months. He goes, before you know it, you'll be a year, and then it's going to be 5. I think the last time I had 9 months is when I was locked up in West Care, and I was gone for 18, you know. And I only lasted, 3 more months being outside, graduating drug court high, like, on Zoom because COVID hit, like, so I think I'm going to get away with stuff, like, and I told him, you know, we're talking about that, and I said, you know, the difference this time is I'm doing it. I'm not being forced to do it, you know, and, hearing stuff like that from my family today is just, I'm so grateful. I did so much harm to them, you know what I mean? Making my amends to them and like hearing, like listening to what they had to say after, you know, like what I had done, like bringing it forth and like, you know, standing up before them, like not cowering to them, you know, like, which is what I had done for years. Man, like it's more for them than for myself. Like, yes, my amends, I'll do the rest of my life and it's going to help keep me sober. But, seeing, my mom was like, no more reactions. Like, I didn't argue with her, you know, like I had been a defensive little girl. That's why she put me in counseling at 5, you know, it started early. But, you know, I'm really grateful that I involved myself 100% in every area that I could over the last almost 10 months because, you know, it saved my life. You know what I mean? Like the only thing that's going to happen if I go pick back up because I ride till the wheels fall off. I think you heard plenty of times, like, you know, everything's got to be gone. I'm dead. And that's so selfish of me. Like life is happy. And, you know, I may not have everything in the world today, but inside I feel whole, you know, and that's such a big blessing. And I can be a blessing to others, you know, not for selfish reasons, you know what I mean, but just because I can care about another human being, you know. I could be a mom to my son again, like fully, you know, show up, you know, be a sister. Like I don't just have my sister and I don't just argue off rip anymore, you know. Yeah, anyways, I'm really grateful for my last 10 months and what this program has done. There you go.